not have before and they might not have recognized before. Another idea, I've seen a handful of organizations who offer pay what you can when you can, or they ask for donations. It can be a pretty powerful way to ensure that entrepreneurs are receiving the support, even if they have limited financial resources. I've seen companies, and I have also done some of these, offer workshops without obligation that fits their products and services and benefits, and then also benefits the customer. I worked with a dance studio before COVID-19, and I still work with them now. And they put everything online, but found that because they work with community centers and gyms and various organizations or companies that were greatly impacted by the COVID-19, that they went totally online. And what they are doing is they are asking for donations. They're not actually calling it that. When she sends out a monthly newsletter. And in the monthly newsletter, it's very good about stating goals and what the dance classes will be and where the dance classes will be. They're always consistently the same time with the same Zoom password and login. And then she just says nicely, if you want to donate, if you feel this is of help to you, you can donate at Venmo. And she gives a suggested donation, but you can give what you can. And I just talked to her yesterday, and she was very happy with how things are going. Some people give more, some people give less, some people don't because they can't afford it. But she feels good about that, and her income level is staying at a pretty consistent point. Whereas if she was probably doing it as a pay as you go, or you pay for the classes, I think she'd be doing less well in this economy and at this time. This is a big one, and this is number 4. Question whether your strategy is applicable or needs to be changed. This market, we're really demanding that we be flexible. It's also sometimes a look at, do we throw away years of strategy to go completely in a different direction that just may not make sense? So before you make any drastic changes, take the time to pause, breathe, and determine the strategic direction that you want to go in. If there are ways to take your virtual or your current offerings virtual or fill the gap somehow, and you can pivot to another sustainable strategy, do it. But if you can also take what you've been doing and pivot that work, then it's not such a big jump. It's a short-term jump, and you can make that happen. You also want to look at this strategy that you're putting in place as a sustainable strategy, which means it is a strategy you're dedicated to. You are not just doing this strategy short-term, because it will be harder if you're looking at it as just a short-term fix. Step 5 would be invest time now in planning for the future. And since we're at a point where it seems like we're planning every day and we're looking at everything going on and we're making changes, if your current strategy isn't working, then what you want to do is pivot that or work on that. And then in addition to this, take the time to really lay the groundwork for what's going to happen. Now, our future now is, we don't know what the future holds. We never really do. But you can be planning for what some of the things that for the future that you want to be doing and that your strategy can sustain. You might look at online events. Which ones are going to be those good? You might start collaborating with other companies or organizations. How do you work together with some other group? This could take some time and effort, but starting now to plan for those future things, or at least to put them in your mind or written down, is really going to be helpful. And this is a good time to do. I've been doing some marketing research so that you can look at your current and your future marketing efforts. One of my clients is a yoga studio, and they were doing classes in the studio, and then they also had an online program that we were working on to build a membership for, and it had several streaming classes, I think maybe 1 or 2 a week, and then a lot of library classes. You could go in and just pick from the library of classes. Because this client had already started doing an online studio, when the when the edict came down that we were closing and shutting gyms and yoga studios and those types of things, that very evening, she was able to get on and do a streaming class right away. She's also expanded that online studio to have classes every day, 3 to 4 classes every day that are streaming classes, so you can join the class. And also still her library. She had the technology in place, she had the equipment in place, she had the vendor in place, she had everything in place so she could jump in quite easily. And that was a very good transition. I do think, though, that was working with her, I felt too that this was a short-term transition, but now it's turning into, it's been at least 6 months, and I see it going even longer into the future, particularly since this particular yoga studio caters to 50 and over. I would say it's going to be a while, but people are liking it and they're signing up for the online studio. She's kept it at $20 a month, which is a fantastic deal. And first 7 days are free, but I've had this service. I've signed up several years ago or more when she started it. The other thing you can do at this point, which I find a good use of time, would be to prototype new products or services. If you haven't had the chance to look up Jack Knapp, Knapp, I can't remember what he calls his method or system, but anyway, he has a way to go from idea to prototype in 5 days with a team. And I haven't done it. I want to. I would love to do it with a company. I think it's a very good way to do it. And you get the prototype before you put all this, months and months and months of time and effort into creating something that maybe at that time when it's done, your customer can't use, doesn't need, doesn't buy. So if you already have some ideas for new products or services and that you're planning on or on your schedule, see if you can test those new ideas now. And customers are going to be more flexible now if they feel like they're part of your company and part of your strategy and they're helping you out. And also look at what and how this might benefit your customer so that they can go ahead and prototype that and then work it with the customer. And maybe you have a trusted group of 5-10 customers that you could actually test that prototype with. This is a good way to go because it's before you're making any of these large investments, and creating a prototype first lets you identify a way, what it is, and then a way to test it with your concept so that you can test it before you have all this money put into it. And budget-wise, you may find that you have really had to cut your budget, which I can understand. You can use a prototype method to determine really the interest level. Make it very simple, and also use things like social media and try it out that way before you do some, large ad campaign. Really look outside at your resources and be honest about what you have. Be good about collecting employee feedback and looking at your customer base and seeing if you can collect feedback from them. If you have a new food product which hasn't launched yet, right now might not be the best way. It might be very difficult to get. I know it's going to be difficult to get grocery buyers to pick up new product lines. And I understand that they're even reducing SKUs to really simplify the grocery shopping so that a customer just goes in, because they're less likely in the COVID-19 area to spend a lot of time looking at a new product, checking out the ingredients. They're very wanting to get in and get out. So if you're looking at a new food product, you might be looking at who are some of the people that can mentor you on this one. You might look at sending samples if you can get into the customer. There are all kinds of ways, but what I'm saying is instead of stopping, saying, oh, we have a new food product, we can't do it, look at ways that you could prototype or try in a limited way so that you're not using a lot of resources, and I mean both time and money, that can help you expand on that product and market it. The last 2 points that I'm going to cover today are creating content. So that's where I come in, and that's what a lot of the things that I work on. But now's a good time to really work on creating your content. If you do have less client work to do, and I hope you don't, but creating your own content for your company would be a way to spend your time really productively. Content marketing is a very powerful tool for demonstrating your expertise. Many studies show that, so I'm not going to quote any today, but Don't just focus your new content around the coronavirus, because your organization is going to outlast this pandemic. Right now, you can take the time to write and produce content that's relevant regardless of the outside forces, and it will be better set, and it'll be a better place for your organization to be at for success in the future. You have those pieces ready to go. The last point I want to make, and it seems like a little one, but I think it's a good one, and that's to really take the time to be grateful for those little things. Well, there's a lot that's out of your control and my control right now. One thing we can be very intentional about is finding opportunities to practice gratitude. The field of psychology, and I'm not a psychologist, but has long suggested that being positive improves your performance. And gratitude doesn't have to be this huge investment of time either. It can be very, very simple. You can use a gratitude journal. I've heard that. I don't do that, but just spending some time thinking about what you're grateful for. And you really don't need to go through this time alone, by the way, because you can host, virtual coffees, lunches, happy hours with family, friends. You can have a get together for your employees. You can do things that still connect. Granted, you're digital and you're a Zoom meeting, or you're doing it with masks and social distancing and outside, but somehow connecting and being not alone, but with others. So I just leave you with find opportunities to stay connected. Even though we're physically apart from people, we can still connect. Again, you've listened to Jacqueline Holstead at On Point Conversations. If you have comments or you want me to cover another topic on my podcast, you can go to onpointthinking.com, which is my website, and you can go to the contact section, send me a contact, and I read all of the ones I get and I respond. Thank you for listening, and I invite you to join me next week as we talk more about specific actions you can take to reach your own business goals. You can find my library of other inspiring podcasts like this one at onpointthinking.com. Again, thank you for listening. This is Jacqueline Holstead at On Point Conversations.